This is the story of how one right became the driving force behind healthcare reform at the end of life. The story begins 25 years ago, around this time. Oregonians had voted for death with dignity at the ballot. And so we were embarking in the age of medical aid and dying in the state of Oregon. And the medical community felt that a dark cloud had descended on the state. They were fearful. They were nervous. They were skeptical. They were angry. There were lots of people chastising each other that the medical community hadn't opposed this initiative hard enough. The Oregon Medical Association had been neutral. The Oregon Hospice Association had come on late in its opposition. And there had really been only a handful of doctors who had campaigned against it. And so the law was actually held up. It didn't come into effect. It hadn't been implemented. But there was dread over the land. One year later, some academicians at OHSU, Melinda Lee and Susan Toll, very principled academicians, found that they had some observations to make. And their observations were that even this cloud had a silver lining. Because amazing things had happened in the 1 year since the vote. And Melinda Lee and Susan Toll reported in the Annals of Internal Medicine that, notice they're not supporters, they use the language of opponents, they're still opponents. Oregon's assisted suicide vote, there's a silver lining. Unexpected benefits, they reported. The healthcare community has focused unprecedented attention on improving the care of dying patients, they reported, and they had data points. 1 year, this seems almost hard to believe, 1 year, a 20% increase in hospice referrals. And bear in mind, the law hadn't gone into effect yet. It was held up in court. The Oregon Health Plan had expanded hospice eligibility. Oregon hospitals all over the state had rushed to develop comfort care teams if they didn't have them. They had expanded comfort care teams if they did. The Catholic hospitals, who knew they would never participate in medical aid and dying, were especially eager to improve their end-of-life care, and they developed whole new practice models with total quality improvement and continuous quality management. Those are buzzwords. But they were serious about bringing a multidisciplinary team to symptom management. And OHSU, that hadn't done a lot of undergraduate medical education on end of life, developed new curriculum. And the Board of Medical Examiners and the Oregon Medical Association and OHSU and a funder joined forces to teach doctors all across the state about how to prescribe narcotics at the end of life because pain treatment was woefully inadequate. So that's what was happening on the provider side. But for 25 years, the other thing that has been happening on the patient side is where we at Compassionate Choices think the real power lies. That's where the attitudes and the beliefs, the habits, the curiosity, the inquiries, the discernment, the decisions get made that are the transformative force, that are the disruptive influence on a healthcare system that needs reform so badly. So now we've had 25 years of these kinds of changes on the patient side. Suddenly we realize we do have a choice in how much suffering to endure. We have a reason to inquire about our prognosis because 6 months is an important time. We have the newfound courage to evaluate treatment options, even treatment options that might have horrific side effects, because we have an exit strategy. We have new curiosity about asking direct questions, and we do expect candid answers now. Now we have permission to state our value, that we value the quality of our lives over the absolute quantity if we do. That's no longer anathema. We have validation of our personal beliefs. We have freedom against the taboo. For years, left over from Catholic doctrine is the taboo on any intentional dying. Well, now we had a law authorizing intentional dying, so that taboo was lifted. No more shame in stopping life-sustaining treatments if we've reached a point where we believe that our lives, the quality of our lives, are actually worse than death. And the wonderful thing is that all these new attitudes and beliefs and habits, behaviors, are not only applied at the end of life in that 6-month window. They extend throughout the course of our lives, throughout the course of the progression of chronic illnesses, including dementia. So on the patient side, we have these very powerful changes in expectations and behaviors, and a new commitment, new abilities to make sure that we finish strong according to our own values and beliefs. Come to find out, less than 0.5%, which are the number of people who die with medical aid in dying. It's not about them. It's about the other 99.5% of people who die with all other means, who are also the beneficiaries of the improved end-of-life care on the provider side and the new attitudes on the consumer side. And so it turns out that not a dark cloud with a silver lining, but a rainbow of benefits from medical aid in dying that lead to a pot of gold, which is the healthcare reform we all desire, and our own abilities to finish strong according to our own values and beliefs. And that's my story.